Alright, hello YouTube. This is going to be the first quarterfinals of 2v2 World Cup. We'll have Finland versus China, an extremely good matchup over here, starting in about a couple of minutes. Let's take a quick look at the draft while we're waiting for the players to launch of the game. Finland is going to go Golden Pit and Team Acropolis. Chaos Pit is going to be the ban for Finland A, which consists of Max and Viles. Other side, Yo and Lix will be playing for Team China, so the Chaos Pit ban from Finland isn't a surprise. China bans Arena, they just don't like to play it. They like open maps a lot more. Team Islands is an interesting selection from Team China as their first home map. I'm curious what they are planning over there, but like, you should never underestimate the tower rushing potential of the Chinese players, and because of that, I feel like we could just see like Yo playing water and the Lix going for a tower rush. That could be absolutely viable. Or maybe even not tower rush, but scouts play, for example, on the opponent's island. Nomad is the other map for China, something that they love to play. Max and Viles aren't that bad in Nomad, but I would say that Nomad should favor the Chinese team over here. Let's take a quick look at the draft, which is like this. Spanish and Khmer are the global bans for the two teams. We will have Persians and Franks, so first picks of each team sniped by the opponent. Persians are great 2v2 civilization. Amazing for Nomad, generally very, very good in 2v2 setting because your knights get an attack bonus against archers. Franks, on the other hand, once again, generally a very good cavalry civ to play with. Saracens is there for China though, alongside Britons. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, I think at least 4 very good archer civs. Indians, Lithuanians, Magyars are pretty solid cavalry civs for China to play with. They have Tatars as well, but that was a random pick. Team Acropolis, however, Tatars will be a pretty sick civilization to play, to be honest. I'm curious about the Team Acropolis outcome. Mongols could also be very good on Team Acropolis. Other side, for Max and Suomi, we will have Cumans, which is going to be an interesting one to look at. Vilas was amazing with Cumans in King of the Desert. Mayans, Vietnamese, Malay, Vikings are there. Interesting lineup of civilizations. I would say it's fairly balanced. If I look at Team Islands, I'm gonna say Vikings and Italians will be the first or the two civilization picks for Max and Vilas. They'll probably go Japanese and maybe Burmese on Nomad. And then, actually, Burmese could also be useful for either Team Acropolis or Golden Pit. Burmese is just pretty good on every map that is in the map pool, with the exception of Team Islands over here. So, well, indeed, the real question here is what kind of cavalry civs Finland is going to have, because Persians are gone. They have Slavs, but Slavs don't have Paladin. They have Burmese, which can kind of replace a cavalry civ if you can get to good run by numbers. You have Cumans, you have Berbers, but Berbers once again do not have Paladin, although I'm okay with Berbers on Golden Pit because you don't necessarily need Paladin on a map like this. On Team Islands you don't need a cavalry civ, so you really just need a cavalry civ for Team Acropolis and Arabia, so I don't think that this is very bad for Suomi. I mean, you have to use these civs well, but I'm actually approving the civs of Suomi here. What is going to be an interesting one to look at is that Vikings will be great on Team Islands if they decide to go for them with the longboats, but Portuguese with the caravels are pretty much a counter to the longboats. So because of that, I would assume that China might have the upper hand on the Team Islands game. Overall, I feel like this is a fairly balanced draft for both teams. And now let's take a look if the games are starting. They are going to be playing on the old patch, and indeed the games are starting, so perfect timing over here, and we just have 1.5 minutes of spec delay to overcome. In about a minute or so, we'll have the first game coming up, and Yo will be playing Magyars, and Lix will be playing Britons. An interesting lineup here. Surprised about the Magyars a tiny bit here for China, but it's understandable. I mean, Magyars are generally a very good civilization when you can actually compensate with military for your weaker eco. That's basically the thing. So with Magyars, you really have to be able to use your power spikes well, like early Castle Age, for example, with the +2 attack. You have to use your scouts very aggressively, And I feel like it's really going to be depending on the execution of Yo how well Magyars are going to perform, because one thing is sure, Slavs will be able to have a much better economy than Magyars, so he really has to capitalize on the free attack upgrades of his knights, and of course the free attack upgrade and cheaper scouts for himself for a much more aggressive feudal age. I could see Yo playing a much more aggressive feudal age with more scouts because they're cheaper for him. Maybe even go bloodlines and +1 defense in feudal, try to do some feudal age damage. Other side, Slavs and the Ethiopians for Team Suomi. They will be playing a fairly standard lineup of civs here. Both of them are fairly aggressive early Castle Age civilizations. Slavs can mess a lot of knights with the strong eco they have, and Ethiopians, just one of the best archer civs in the game. And one of the interesting things to look at here is going to be Britons versus Ethiopians as a matchup, because Britons versus Ethiopians will be a tricky one. Early on, Britons should dominate, but later on, once Thumbring is in for Ethiopians, it should be a situation that favors Ethiopians by far. With that, we are in here in game number 1, in this best of 5 in between Suomi and China in 2v2 World Cup. We are going to have Max as Slavs for Finland in green on the north, and to the east of him is his teammate Viles in Ethiopians. We're gonna have Lix's Britons in yellow and Magyars for Yo in red. Let's take a quick look at the map of the players. So, Yo's map, I think it's actually relatively satisfactory. The barriers aren't nice, but wood lines are decent, this gold is nice, easy wall off on the right side. So I think Yo is going to be very happy about this map. Lix, on the other hand, not so much. This gold mine is bad, this other gold mine is also very bad, barriers aren't great either, and this gold mine is also kind of bad for him. So this is going to be a pretty tricky one for Lix to play with. It's going to be awfully hard to protect those gold mines. I could actually make a case for walling like this and trying to use this gold mine, but that requires Lix to scout that, and apparently that isn't going to happen right now. Other side, Viles with a kind of neat little base over here, sees the stone gold at the back. It's a little bit open on the left side, but nothing that he cannot really wall off. And bears at the back, double gold at the back, stone at the back. This is a almost dream scenario for Viles. The only problem is that the wood lines aren't that amazing. All of them are on the front. Not really any safe wood at the back, but it's a good map for Viles. And we are gonna have Max with a kind of meh type of a map. Not great, not terrible. Relatively easy to wall off. He will have to pay attention to this lake over here. And in fact, he does not scout that. This is actually gonna hurt for Max if he doesn't scout this forest, because if he sees it, he's gonna wall like this. If he doesn't see it, it's going to be a much trickier wall off on the right side for him. You can see that he's already dropping off 2 houses on the front of his base, so he's gonna be walling like this, wall like this, and then his gold mine is going to be safe. Anyways, aggressive scouting coming in here from Mr. Yo. He sees the primary gold, so he knows that his opponent is nearby. But with that aggressive scouting, I do assume he didn't go for a single deer push so far, whereas Lix might be actually trying to do that. Viles might be there to harass him. I would say, by the way, just to look at this specific team matchup, as we have a scout fight over here, I don't know who's gonna have the upper hand here, but if Lix pulls a villager, Viles will have to disengage here, so indeed Viles is just gonna run away, losing some HP on his scout, but he is going to delay the deer push from Lix, which I think is a small achievement over here. So Finland is potentially one of the biggest candidates to win this tournament, because what Finland gives you is everything that you want from a 2v2 World Cup team. 2 players that are individually both very, very good and have great team chemistry. Not a lot of other teams have this. Like, probably the second best with this is either China or Brazil, if you think about that. As we have another scout fight over here. This is good for Max, because Yo doesn't have the extra attack on those scouts right now in Dark Age, so these 2 scouts are even. In Feudal Age, the Magyar scouts will be better than the scouts from the Slavic players, so this is a good fight for Yo, and he's going to be able to steal 2 goats over here. Oh, that's so unlucky for Max. He missed out on those sheep by just a tile, and that's going to impact his eco a tiny bit. He will be able to compensate with deer push, but I feel like this is a nice little loot for Yo. And yeah, Nerfox, you're absolutely right, Vietnam is also there. So the top 4 teams that really have very, very good players on the roster individually and team chemistry as well. Like a lot of team chemistry we are talking about, so like years of playing together, is basically Brazil, Finland, China, and Vietnam. Norway is still one of the biggest candidates to win this tournament, but there, it's more about the insane individual skills of both Viper and MBL, rather than their experience playing together, because they haven't played a lot together. Anyways, so I feel like why Suomi is super strong here is because if you compare these players to each other, I would say that peak performance Max can actually beat, or at least make it competitive against Yo, but even more importantly, a peak performance Viles can actually probably beat Lix rather easily. So I think the main difference between the two teams over here is that even though both teams have kind of comparable team chemistry, it's about the fact that the second player for Team China is not as strong as the second player for Team Suomi. In fact, after the KOTD performance of Viles and the Max, you could even make a case that Viles might be the stronger player on the Suomi roster. Anyways, the rush is on the way from Viles over here, voling himself off in a nice little fashion. He's probably going to use that back gold mine and vol like this then. And so far, unable to find anything to kill. He's the only player who hasn't clicked up just yet. Lix dropping a barracks right now, so he apparently is probably just going to go for straight archers here in this one. Meanwhile, for Yo, he is going to be rolled off by the time the scouts arrive from his opponent, and we will have a 21 pop scouts build from both scouts players here. So, for now, this is okay for Max, and the reason why is because Lix can't really access his gold mine. You can see that he's moving out to that gold, and honestly, Viles could have just camped that gold mine down to make sure that Lix cannot access it. I feel like the reason why Viles didn't do this is because he believes Lix has a gold mine elsewhere. He probably is like, oh yeah, you know, he's not on this gold, so he has to be elsewhere. And like, that thinking isn't necessarily bad. It's just Lix not really committing to gold at all. In fact, as I said, had he seen this gold mine, he could have gone for this. But now he's gonna go for that. This might require a defensive tower later on though, because this is super exposed to archers, especially considering that like Lix is gonna have archers on the field, but Viles will be bringing in Ethiopian crossbows pretty soon here, right? Yeah, Viles 27 villagers up. This should be a Drosh FC here. With the Ethiopians, you get the extra resources when aging up, so you should be able to get the nice little Drosh FC over here. Anyways, we will have Max voling himself off. He even voled this part off, which is something I really like. It's easier and safer to vol like this and just skip the lake completely. Although you could have done it one vol over here as well. He sees the lake, so you could have just done one tile here, but it's safer this way. Anyways, you got the scouts out for Max already, and honestly, these scouts for like these scout wars are actually going to benefit Finland here. And the reason why is because the only player who is not fully voled is Lix. So scouts could do a lot of damage to his eco, even though he technically has the villagers voled on the gold mine and the wood, but I mean, still, the best damage potential for the scouts is over here. Yo is fully voled, Max is fully voled, and Viles is also fully voled, and you can see that Max is indeed heading towards Lix over here, and Yo also knows that Lix is in trouble, so he's gonna send in his own scouts. Now is the fun part, because you are gonna have your +1 attack scouts over here as well. You don't necessarily need to commit to this fight, to be honest, because archers would clean this up anyways, but I guess they just want to make sure that Lix is safe over here, so I'm actually going to be alright. Anyways, nice quick pause over there from Lix. The second one fails, but it's just one scout, and there are just more reinforcements over here, so Max isn't really going to be able to do a lot of damage. And here's where Slavs are going to kick in here. As I said, Team China has to capitalize on the Magyar's attack bonus in Field Age and in Castle Age as well. So you have to play, or ideally you want to play an aggressive Field Age. And that is not really going to happen over here for Team China, because you can see that Max is gonna be Stormwalled over here. So Max knows as well that he just needs to outboom his opponent. That's it. And he will be able to do that with the Slavic farming. If you look at the food count, 425 for Max, 59 for Yo. And Yo went for 6 scouts, but those are cheaper Magyar scouts, whereas Max only went for, I think, 2 scouts added here. So true, Max invested less into Field Age aggression, but he also has the power of Slavic farming over here. So the combination of these basically mean that Max is gonna be able to have a pretty nice castle time over here and go for the earlier knights than Yo here. And I really love the stone walls. It makes you safe, especially now that the archers are coming from Licks. And you will be able to mine some stone in, like, while you're going up to castle. So it's not really a big deal right now. And we should not forget about the player that hasn't been involved that much in this fight so far. And that is Viles, slowly massing up the archers back at home. Is it the first game today? Yes, that's correct. This is the first game of the day. We're gonna have quite a lot more coming. So I actually like this play from Yo and Licks. They try to do some damage, and if this isn't contested at all, then you can really make a case for destroying the stable of Max. So, because at this point, Yo knows that Max wants to go up for a castle age, and indeed, Max is already clicked up. But this means that if you want to delay the knight's play from Max, you want to destroy the stable. And with the archers supporting, Max cannot repair. So I like this reaction from Team China. And now, if Yo progresses towards Castle Age, I would dare to say that on this side of the map, China might be leading. Because they are going to have the knights there as well, and you can see that Max will have to rebuild that stable, so he's going to be delayed going for knights, and Yo isn't that much far behind. The tricky part is how Licks are going to defend against the crossbows coming his way. I actually approve the defensive tower over here. You kind of have to do this to make sure that crossbows don't pick off your vultures, but you still have to pay attention. Anyways, the stable went down. Max will be able to afford the 2 stables here, but this is going to make him unable to drop additional TCs, or at least not 2 of them. Bloodlines also a tiny bit delayed, I believe, here for him, but both Suomi players will be up to Castle Age faster than the Chinese players, and that's where things could get pretty tough for China. Now Licks sees this gold mine, so he can fall back to this one if emergency requires him to do so. And right now these scouts are just not finding their way into the base of Viles, who's going for a kind of greedy approach. He's going for 2 TCs instead of University. I actually am okay with that, because crossbows would beat the archers anyways, especially considering Licks doesn't even have fletching. Licks doesn't have fletching, and Ethiopian crossbows don't necessarily need ballistics over here to beat feudal age units. That's -1 villager for Licks, and a fight that he cannot really afford to take. So the scary part now is that Licks has to, I believe, buy stone or just use the stone that he has mined to make another defensive tower over here. But he has to go for 2 defensive towers, brings back the archers, but I kind of feel like he's going to have to take a pretty bad fight over here. Although if the scouts from Yo help out and +1 defense comes in, this could actually be a good fight for China, because these crossbows are kind of trapped in over here, so they could get cleaned up by the scouts, which would be an okay trade for China, because these scouts wouldn't be useful anyways. But here come the knights as well from Max, +1 defense over there. And he will be able to squeeze out the second town center over here. So 2 TC, Slavic farming, and the knights are coming out. And we already have the next batch of crossbows coming in here for Viles. And Licks still not up. He's idling his TC a tiny bit so he can actually click up crossbows, picking off another villager. And this is the moment where your crossbows just want to focus down the archers, because the scouts are pretty much useless. You just want to lower your opponent's archer numbers as much as possible. Not an ideal fight for Viles, but I kind of feel like this is the type of fight where you're just like, okay, we take this, and it's going to be a satisfactory engagement for them, especially now that more crossbows are coming from Viles. Licks also lost quite a lot of archers in the process, so I think this was alright for Suomi. Anyways, Yo is playing 1 TC only, triple stable knights. So he's really going for the aggressive Castle Age play, as I kind of wanted him to do. He already has, look at this, those have +2 defense already, and the +2 attack comes with Magyar, so Suomi has to be really careful over here. Those knights are much better, and Yo will be able to get them out in better numbers as well, because he's gonna have 3 stables, even though 2 of them right now are idle. But if they survive this initial push, especially considering that Max is stonewalled, I don't see Yo being able to keep this up in the long term. So they have to really capitalize on this early Castle Age aggression, but they have everything they need to do so, because those knights are just much better than the ones from Max. Ballistics are on the way for Viles, and Licks is also almost up to Castle Age. Looking at the militia numbers, Licks has the numbers advantage compared to Viles. This could be a bad fight for Suomi. Yo is trying to just track down these units and wait until Lix is up to castle. That's exactly what's happening here. Trying to sandwich these forces in between the knights of Yo and the archers of Viles. Because if that happens, this army goes down very, very easily, and that's a huge jackpot for China then. So apparently Yo is now able to keep all of the 3 of those stables working, and that's very scary for Suomi. Max coming in with +2 defense just now, and this is the moment when I believe Suomi might actually try to leave this engagement because they realize, okay, Lix is up as well, so Castle Age is coming in. Fast University for Ballistics here for Lix, and so far no additional town centers being dropped. But here come the Knights, and those Knights could actually do a lot of damage. You can see the yellow ping on the map. This is signaling that they know that Max is stonewalled, so they're gonna go for Viles. And this army could actually smash Viles here pretty easily, to be honest, because Thumbring isn't there for Viles just yet, so these crossbows are kind of comparable in combat capabilities, but the knights from Yo are just much, much better. There is 10 knights on the field over here, 12 from Max. Max, however, still only on 2 stables, so it's a little bit harder to replenish those knights, and if those scouts can get a few kills on those crossbows, that's a jackpot, because those scouts wouldn't really be useful anyways. Killing a few crossbows is actually a pretty good use for them, and now the crossbows will start marching towards the kind of exposed woodlands of Viles. Remember what I said at the beginning of the game. One thing that I don't like about Viles's map is the exposed woodlines, scouts running past the town center, and they are going to be annoying here. They aren't really going to kill a lot, but the 2 free villagers they kill are going to be enough to annoy Viles, and in the meanwhile, these crossbows are coming in here, and they will be going for the woodline. Not sure if Lix has ballistics. He has the university up, but I guess we'll soon find out, and that could be a lot of dead villagers. Viles reacts in time, but the range of those British crossbows are just crazy. So 2 more villagers go down from Viles, but still, he's 57 villagers. Lix is at 44. So, yes, some villagers went down, but the eco is still way better for Suomi right now in this one. So, as I said, China will have to be very, very aggressive to take these fights. They need all the knights on the field. Thumbring is coming in here for Viles. So this is the moment where Viles's crossbows will be much, much better. +1 defense, Thumbring. But those knights are still kind of disturbing, I believe, if you're Suomi. Some knights coming in on the other side to counterattack Yo. Yo has had some nice quick walls, so those will not be able to break into his base. But the other knights are, and that's a hastily rushed up town center over here by Viles, which could cost quite a lot of villager lives. In fact, yeah, it's gonna go up. It goes up, and now the reinforcements come back from the other side. This is going to be an interesting fight to look at because the TC fire could help immensely, but as I said, those knights are just so much better right now. You want to keep the distance with your crossbows. You don't want to allow the Ethiopian player to use the Thumbring advantage, and it seems like China is going to lose this army. They need to get these reinforcements in here, like ASAP. Still, the range advantage could be kind of helpful here, picking off the knights, and I feel like if Yo brings in the additional knights here, this could still be a good engagement. Most of the knights from Max are dead, but so are the crossbows, and I feel like this is the problem for China here. That this was a rather even engagement in a situation where China is massively behind in terms of economy. So they can't afford to take just okay engagements. They have to be able to damage the opponent's eco quite massively, and this is not something that we have experienced over here. So now second TC is up as well for Lix, but at the end of the day, Lix is still 12 villagers behind compared to Viles, and also Yo is 13 villagers behind compared to Max. Max holds the power of the Slavic farming and the free TC boom coming in over here. This is going to be awfully hard now for China to overcome, because they have to play aggressive, but they don't really have the military numbers anymore. If these knights were with the other group, I feel like they could have actually won that fight, or at least make it even. And this is why I feel like Britons are a little bit overrated as a 2v2 archer civ. They are great, but not against civs that have, like, for example, not against Ethiopians. Because Britons lacking Thumbring actually makes them pretty bad when you have to take engagements like we have seen over here, when the opponent's archers are able to close the distance. And without Thumbring, that's not so great for them. It's the same reason why Aztecs aren't super great 2v2 archer civ. Same thing, lacking Thumbring hurts very badly. And apparently we're gonna have a third TC coming up here for Lix on the other gold mine. So what is the question now? It's a really tricky situation. The thing is that I could make an argument for Lix trying to sling Yo here. Because if you can sling Yo into an Imperial Age and early Cavalier, that could steamroll everything. Because Yo is gonna have +4 attack by default in Imperial. He's gonna get Cavalier at +4 and he can just go in and take the fights. So I feel like Cavalier type of power spike could be something to think about. But here is Vilas going up to Imperial and that's where things get really scary for China. Yo... Oh no, this is Lix. Lix is also idling some of his DCs, so I wonder if he is planning to click up as well. The problem is that Lix is behind by 10 villagers compared to Vilas. And Vilas has 45 crossbows, 31 for Lix only, without Thumbring. And also the Ethiopian bonus is there as well for Vilas. So these are much, much better crossbows right now. That being said, Fletching came in for Max, interestingly. Not sure what's the source of that. I feel like he just wants some damage output from the TCs. And I love this play from Lix. He went for the gold mines of Max over here and picked off quite a lot of villagers. This isn't really a fight that China wants to take though. 32 knights against 20, but these are supported by quite a lot of crossbows. We have Imperial Age coming in here for Lix as well. How is Yo doing? Yo wants to imp as well. In this case, I actually think that there is a reasonable chance for China. But once again, they'll have to use the early Imperial power spike over here. Max is also about to imp, but he's missing gold. And these Britain 8-range crossbows can be so annoying right now for Max. Because he only has 5 villagers on gold, and look at his gold spots. This one is kind of exposed, he didn't go for that just yet. And I'm not even sure if he remembers he has a gold over here at the back. But nonetheless, this delays Max's Imperial Age by about 20-ish percentage. And that could be enough for Yo to claim an upper hand. Because he's gonna have +4 attack immediately. He's gonna grab +4 defense and Cavalier just a little bit faster than Max. And if they can time that fight well, that could be enough. Now that being said, the problem here is that I'm not sure if they can actually afford to take that fight. Or at least wait until then. Because all the arbs will be heading towards Mr. Yo here. And, like, Lix is still far from Imperial here. And they need to wait. If they fight this against the Ethiopian Arbs with the Knights, they lose. The Knights will just get destroyed by the Ethiopian Arbs. You have to be able to wait this out, but it's tricky because this TC is gonna go down. And with that, Yo could lose like 20 wills. But they can't take this fight against the Ethiopian Arbs. If they take it, they're going to lose this game because they will lose the majority of those Knights. And Vilas's faster Imperial compared to Lix could actually come in clutch here. Let alone the fact that Lix actually has quite a lot of arbs coming in here. But as I said, Yo is gonna lose quite a lot of wheels. They know very, very well that they are just not supposed to take this fight. Here comes Chemistry and Bracer though, and this is the moment they are waiting for. Imperial Age is about to come in for Yo as well. This is gonna be tricky. I think they want to wait until at least Imp kicks in so they get the +4 attack. But ideally, until you get Cavalier and +4 defense, Yo can actually grab +4 defense. You just click the dip in. Only +1 armor on those crossbows or arbs from Lix, and that's huge. +1 armor versus +4, and those old guys also have Thumbring. But this is what I was talking about. It's +4 attack against just +2. And that could be enough to clean this army up over here. Cavalier is on the way, and right now Max is just trying to save his green Cavalier. But this is going to result in the entire army of Vilas being lost here. I am not so sure if this worked out well for Suomi, to be honest. Yo and Lix are both behind compared to their opponents. But at this point, the Cavalier for Yo will be way better than the Cavalier for Max. And what is even more important is that Lix was able to retain his army numbers. Lix has 52 military, Vilas has 22 only. And if they go for the base of Max here, that could be kind of troublesome. So Vilas lost a lot of numbers over there. He's going to be able to replenish them, make no mistake. But this is very scary. Those are 10 range orbs. And do I see coinage from Lix? I do. So maybe he's going to start sending some resources here to Yo, so Yo can get Paladin. Indeed. He's probably gonna sling a bunch of food to Yo, because this is where the real difference maker comes in for Magyars. Slavs, they're an amazing cavalry save until you don't get to Paladin, because Slavs don't have Paladin, and Magyars do. and that's +4/+4, and here is Paladin. Now, if you want to go for Paladin, I'm not sure if you want to dive in like that, because you're about to lose your Cavalier numbers, but they feel like they want to go in and just finish off Max. Max just finishing Cavalier over here, but still without +4 armor, and at this point, that's a fully collapsing eco for Max over here. 96 villagers, Yo is at 78, but if that TC is ejected, that could be quite a lot of that villagers, and are just running around here. Here come the Cavalier for Max as well. +4 is in as well, and Paladin is a long upgrade, so as I said, I'm not 100% sure if Yo wants to take this fight just yet, because he doesn't want to lose those Cavalier. He wants to wait until those are Paladin. If they can keep this army up until these are upgraded to Paladins, that might be over. Guard towers coming in here for Viles, and look at the counterattack. Look at the counterattack from Lix over here now, pushing the eco of Viles. The eco for Suomi is still much better, but that Paladin timer is just coming in so slow. 65. They don't want to take this right now, and there is a way to leave this base, by the way. You could actually run away there, and honestly, China needs to do that. They are trying to wait it out, but yeah, this is the right decision, I believe. You want to leave the base of your opponent until you get Paladin. When you get Paladin, you want to take that fight. That's exactly what you want. These Arbs, with their insane range, should be able to take quite a lot of units down over here, even though Lix isn't microing them just yet. Paladin is at 92%, and they're just waiting. They're just waiting for Paladin. Try to take that fight. +4 defense is also coming in here for Lix, and the Briton Arbs are just so good at keeping those units away. That's one thing that they have an advantage over the Ethiopian ones, but still, the fact that Ethiopians have a much better rate of fire is going to help immensely. Trade is being set up by Team China over here, and there is Paladin. And this is the moment where China is going to have to press on and capitalize on the Paladin. TC in the middle. We are going to have Arbs coming up here on the right side, castles by both players, but I think this fight is a little bit more important. The Paladins need to dive in, I believe. It's a little bit tricky because Suomi is holding a hill here, but the real problem for Suomi is that Max's eco is collapsing. And if you lose your cavalry player, you are likely to lose the game, because you lose the mobility element. The cavalry player, I have said this so many times, is just much more important than the archer player. So if Max is going down to 30-ish villagers, and he is because there is Paladin breaking into his base on the left side, Max is trying to take this fight Boyar on the field. But even if he cleans this up, look at the eco of Max. He's down to 56 because he wasn't able to pay attention to these guys. All those dead bodies mean that Suomi is going to lose game number 1 over here. Absolute insanity from multiple sides over here. The right side fight, the Arbs from Viles went down, and this castle is probably gonna be denied. But more importantly, the way that China was able to just keep that army alive until they get to Paladin, that was the clutch thing. That was the very clutch team. And when you're looking at 2v2s, when you're looking at these team games, in a Slavs versus Magyars matchup, that's exactly how you want to play Magyars. You know that your eco is weaker, so what you have to build on is either your early age power spikes, like they did with the +4 attack and Knights, when they destroyed Viles's army, and your Paladin upgrade over the Slavic Cavaliers. Beautifully executed by China, and I feel like it's a little bit of an upset because at the beginning of the game I was talking about the fact that I believe that Suomi has mechanically probably a better layout, because I would favor Viles over Lix over here, but honestly, Lix played very good. The initial parts were scary, but there weren't any major mistakes done by Lix. So that's the main question in this matchup, I would say. How good can Lix play? We know that Yo is an amazing player. We know that Max and Viles are amazing players. Lix is a great player, but he needs to play very good to win this series, and boy oh boy, he played very good in this one. The timings were great. I'm pretty sure he slung some food to Yo as well, so Yo can get the pod in. It was just so good from him. Never really lost his archer numbers, which was also something pretty nice. Well, he lost one fight inside the base of Vilas here, but other than that, I feel like Yo and Lix had an insanely good team chemistry when they were trying to keep these guys alive, because Max and Vilas were fully aware that those Arabs will be able to pick off units from a distance, and it was really in the hands of Lix to protect Yo's Cavalier with the extra range he has, so to make sure that these units don't get close. And they kept this army alive for like 2.5 minutes, ran through the entire base of Max, and since Vilas and Max had to focus on this fight and this fight over here, the Paladin just ran inside on the left side, and that is it. Beautifully executed by China, and well, one of the strongest teams overall in 2v2 Age of Empires, but definitely in 2v2 World Cup. China is going to grab the first game, and you can see how that exposed goldmine hurt Max quite badly. Remember that Max had to delay his Imperial Age because of that exposed goldmine that he lost Voyagers on, and you can see the gold income. He's the only player below 10k gold, and 3,000 behind compared to the other cavalry player, Yo. Also, Lix indeed sent quite a lot of resources to Yo, so he can get the Paladin upgrade in. Very nice teamwork from Team China, like textbook execution. And, well, that's game number 1 in the hands of Team China, and we already have game number 2 coming up over here. And we just have 35 seconds spectator delay, so we will be jumping into the first home map of Team Suomi. Max and Vilas will be picking Team Acropolis over here, with Cumans and the Vietnamese versus Saracens and Indians. Two super strong late game civilizations over here. Max with the Paladins and the Vilas with potentially Rat Archers. Saracens and Indians is going to be a tricky one for Suomi to handle here, though, because Saracens and Indians can play a very aggressive game in early Castle Age. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But here we are, game number 2. This is Team Acropolis. We'll have Suomi on the left with Vietnamese for Vilas and Max with Cumans in green. And Yo is playing Indians red, and we'll have Lix as Saracens yellow on the right side of the map. So on Team Acropolis, you cannot wall on these dark patches, but what usually players do is just wall themselves around like that. Usually works out. It's a little bit tricky over here because this is a hard wall off because all of this spanning to the edge of the map. But nice little gold at the back, wood at the back as well is kind of helpful. It's a tricky map because you don't have a lot of resources, especially wood, on your starting hill. But it's not like you have to move out immediately, so I feel like if you wall yourself, you can actually play fairly defensive strategies, and this hill bonus makes this map fairly well defendable. Anyways, as you see, there is some additional aesthetics added here by the map making crew. So normally Acropolis has a pond in the middle and a relic. Here it's actually Acropolis itself, the building ruins. And also I think relic distribution is still the same. You're gonna have one relic close to the middle and 2 close to each team over here. Alright, one thing that really stands out is that there's like a huge gap here on the north and the south, so there are a lot of empty spaces in here. The wood lines aren't super big. Alright, so let's see what we have over here for Vilas. You would assume he's just gonna go for probably straight archers because it takes quite a lot of time to evolve yourself, and you don't really want to go into like a... Like Drashevsky doesn't really make a lot of sense because there's a long walking distance and a lot of walling to do, so I feel like straight archers is the most likely scenario here for both archer players, although I would love to see Lix using some Saracens shenanigans and something like... I could see Lix trying to buy himself up to Castle Age a little bit faster, so maybe go up to fuel at like 21-22 wheels and then use a little bit of Saracen Marquetry to get up to a slightly faster Castle Age and go for early crossbowman push. That would be a fun one to look at from Lix, but I'm sure that you can pick Saracens here for 2 reasons. Number 1, you wanna meld buildings with an early field age push, let's say. Number 2, you wanna use the market. Because one thing that we're looking at right now, and that's also a super interesting one to look at, is that this civilization matchup is very similar to game number 1. You have the Saracen player that's gonna have the weaker archers and weaker eco compared to the Vietnamese player. But if you use it right, the Saracen archers can be super aggressive and super useful. And it's the same matchup with cavalry civs as well. You have Max, who's gonna have the stronger eco most likely. Now he has paladins as well, but it's Indians. So in a very late game, once again, the Indians should be able to beat the Cumans. So this is a very tricky matchup, I would say. Because if we go into like super late game, Imperial Camels will just melt everything. And remember, this is old patch, so they haven't been nerfed just yet. And since Max is going for some very, very heavy walls over here, some team walls coming up with Villes, we might see naked fast castles at the end of the day. 3 on wood only for Max though. So even if it's a naked FC from Villes, Max will probably just go up to something like 20 pop 2 TC play, because he wants to be on 2 TCs. Second TC here, by the way, would be super helpful, because it protects the berries, it's on gold, and it protects the front of your base from early field age aggression. So Max, he's at 20 pop. I don't think he has enough food, because he was late with his second boar and walled a lot to go for a 20 pop up. So it's very likely we're just going to see 21 pop from him. That's not enough food for Max. Needs to go for Loom. Oh yeah, 21 plus Loom should be fine for him. He's gonna go up, drop a TC. As I said, I feel like this is the best spot for him. Whereas for Villes, he hasn't clicked up just yet. So going for a second lumber camp, very likely that we're just going to see an FC here from him. Now, Yo is also going up to field age, so he's believing in those Indian scouts over here. And interestingly, he's the one that goes for a wood line over here. Has 4 on wood for the time being. Went out to this wood line. It's a little bit dangerous, but it depends on how aggressive Finland plays this one. So for now, Finland is still walling, and I don't think that Yo scouts are really going to be useful. In fact, I feel like if Yo sees that Suomi is fully walled, he's just gonna probably wall himself as well and just try to boom himself up to castle age. So get the fuel age upgrades and then just go full food, get like 16, 17 farmers, start adding to gold, and just not make scouts. That's always an option. So I think by the time that this scout comes in here, Villes and Max should be fully walled. Both of these players, actually no, Villes doesn't have loom, so Yo could actually pick off a villager here. Let's see if that's the case. He sees the Vil, and that's indeed a villager without loom. Villes could lose a Vil here, and loom is just coming in for him, but that villager is super, super weak, and that's -1 villager. Easy kill over there for Yo. And the second villager already has eaten a lot of damage as well. Loom is still not in for Villes. A second one goes down. Oh, full disaster. Full disaster, and this scout barely loses their Vil. That's -2 Vils for Villes. But if I wanted to be savage, I would say that now he is really Vil-less. That was a very, very potato joke, but anyways, -2 Vils, not really useful for him. So what's up with Licks, with Saracens? That's looking like it's going to be 25 villagers naked FC, probably with Saracen market abuse and double villagers being sent forward, so we might see a forward siege workshop play here, and I will actually approve that. One of the ways you can punish Cuman booms is forward siege workshop mangonels. What is Villes going to do here? Villes can make archers, but Villes isn't even close to making archers, and with 3 villagers being on stone, I am tempted to believe that he's trying to go straight Rattan archers, but China could punish this one so well. Like, that's a market indeed, rushed up with 3 villagers, and these villagers are a little bit too early here, so they might drop a tower first, and I would actually approve that as well. Being able to deny the berries from a Cuman player is nice, because the Cuman player has to rely very, very heavily on the food eco to keep both pieces working, so I would totally understand if these villagers try to drop a tower here. The other thing is that the Cuman player cannot counter tower because it doesn't have the stone to make a defensive tower, so you are guaranteed to have that tower up most likely. Where did those villagers go? Those villagers are making a forward archer range. Interesting. It's not that bad. Look at that. The fuel age time is much better for Licks, or the castle age time, because he was using Saracen market, and he also went up at 27 or 25 wheels. Villes went up at 26 wheels, but he also lost 2, so it's a very, very late uptime for Villes. The archers can start coming in, and you can just Start delivering the damage on the walls. These are walls from a Kuman teammate, because Kuman wall bonus is a team bonus, so the HP is higher on these, but it doesn't change the fact that these guys will be crossbows very soon, and now this is the moment when Max is going to realize, oh shoot, we're up against crossbows, and that is a very, very ambitious triple range crossbow play. I have considerable doubts, as we have an overchop here in a moment. Let's see if Vilas pays attention to that. Let's see if Vilas pays attention to that. Yo turns back at the worst possible time, and there was actually a hole here as well. Let's say that Vilas didn't start his game the way he wanted to, because this could have been very scary. So I'm not sure if you can actually keep all three of those archer ranges working, even with the Saracen market abuse. Because you can see that he's just sending all the villagers to gold and he's just buying resources, trying to get the stone walls up behind this one, but honestly stone walls aren't really going to save you at all, because I can see Lix just dropping a siege workshop to follow this one up. And I mean, Vilas is almost up to castle age. He will be able to drop a defensive siege workshop, or either defensive siege workshop, or more importantly defensive castle, and go Rattan archers. But okay, he's going Rattan archers, but what happens if Lix makes a siege workshop and goes mangonels? The crossbow mangonel play here should be able to beat the Rattan archer play anytime. And Lix is just waiting for the stone to pile up, or the wood. Yeah, university. Okay, interesting idea that he's going for university. He wants to grab ballistics. It appears that he wants to go full crossbow, but in that case that isn't really going to work, because Rattan archers will be coming in here rather soon. And one thing that we should never forget, Max is outbooming Yo here, although not by a massive margin if you take a look at this. 41 villagers compared to 35, not that significant difference if you ask me. In fact, it's a kind of small difference. Both players going up to castle age here. And this is the moment where you're gonna bring in the Indian camels that should be able to beat the Kuman camels. Not by a massive margin, but Kuman knights aren't really an option here, so you have to go camels if you're Max, probably. Unless you're mining stone and going Kipchaks, but that's not the case. Crossbows are in, nice revos from Vilas once again. Scouts could actually dive in. They could have actually went in here. Crossbows with Botkin arrow now, so they're getting more and more dangerous against buildings. And are those crossbows gonna dive through? Yes, they will. They're trying to dive through here, but that's just not gonna work. I love how Yo was using his scout to lure away the fire from the castle and the TC to let the crossbows pass, but that's not gonna work. That's not gonna work, and I feel like a siege workshop here would have been so much more better. Like, you would be having mangonels taking that tower and town center down by now, instead of having ballistics that will still make you unable to deal with the Rattan archers here from Vilas. That being said, there are still quite a lot of palisades that could be broken through here, and Lix, with the perfectly balanced eco, just 2 on food right now for him. They have to do damage with this push, and the Yo, I believe, has dropped. This has to be a drop. Yeah, it's a drop. Because Yo resigned, but then Max and Vilas resigned as well. So this is actually a drop from Mr. Yo. Boy oh boy. So here's how things are going, as they are going to try and restore this. If these crossbows can do some damage, it's going to be fine for China. But this isn't really gonna work in the long run. Because, like, you can see that Lix's eco is like 28 villagers, Vilas is at 29 after losing 2 villas. So Vilas has a way better eco because Lix is just not making villas. I think that this University Ballistics is just too expensive for a weak eco like Lix's one. I feel like mangonels would have been much better, because mangonels deal with towers and mangonels deal with Rattan archers as well. The Max going for fletching there. Any idea why? Is he on stone? Yes, he is on stone with 4, but I feel like that 4 on stone is more like just for defensive towers. I don't think he wants to go Kipchak. Like, Kipchak Rattan archer is not a matchup that you want, or like not a layout that you want. Although it could technically work. And the reason why Kipchak plus Rattan archer could work is because Saracens have orbs and Rattan archers eat them. And Indians don't have knights, so they kind of struggle cleaning up the Retin Archers. We could see Kipchak and Retin Archer. Not the conventional lineup of units for a 2v2, but I would assume that it is a winnable lineup for Suomi. In fact, I would favor Suomi now. We will have a restore in a brief moment. Just 1 minute of spec delay to go for. Don't look at the 4 Britons here. That's actually a little bit misleading. Because once you restore, all civilizations show as Britons. I guess they're restoring from Max's save file. That's where we're seeing Cumans over here. Alright, so, as I said, Lix and Yo have to do a lot of damage, and the main problem they're facing right now is that they can't really battle units. They're okay killing buildings. Indian camels melt buildings, Saracen crossbows melt buildings. But how they are going to deal with Retin Archers, I have no idea. So, it's still going to be a little bit tricky. Also, I wonder if Lix can really make all 3 of those archer ranges work, because he invested into 3 ranges, and that is coinage from Max. It is going to be a full sling into Retin Archers then. Interesting, because if you just want to send a bit of resources, you're not going for coinage. You're going for coinage if you want to sling your teammate into Retin Archers, and I would actually approve that. But it's also very dangerous for Suomi, and this is why I disapprove this university. If this was Siege Workshop with Mangonels, Retin Archers alone wouldn't be enough. Anyways, Yo is bringing in the camels for now, and Yo is going to be booming on 3 TCs with cheaper Indian villagers. That's gonna work out nice. Lix still needs to kind of fix his eco, because he has like no eco. Now he's 3 villagers behind compared to Viles. Because Viles at least can make his TC work, whereas for Lix, he barely is able to get food for himself. Like, his eco is super weak and messy. That being said, camels and crossbows over here slowly bashing their way in, and there's a lot of potential to do damage, and more importantly, to deny Suomi from moving to the middle. That's the really scary part for Suomi. Right now they're holding this hill, and Max is trying to smuggle some villagers out. Where is he going? He's going potentially to, like, to this gold mine or to the far right corner. So he wants to hide these villagers so they're not easily found by the opponent. We're gonna have monks and the defensive siege workshop now out for Max. Coming in with the mangonels, Retin Archers on the way for Viles. But that monastery could go down super fast. And if the palisade is open, the camels can also flood in. It's tricky. If this was knights, if any knights would be available for Yo Civ. So basically, if he was anything other than Meso Civs or Indians, this would be a game for China, because they would just steamroll the Retin Archers with the knights. But now they don't have knights. Nice pickoffs over there from Lix though. That's -4 villagers for Max. He still has a 10 villagers lead compared to Yo here, but Max is on 2 TCs, Yo is on 3. Max just made a third town center for himself, goes for town patrol to make sure that he sees when his opponents are coming his way, and look at this other wave. Remember, this might not be about killing Max and Viles over here. It might be about denying wood, and they are doing this one extremely well. There is another blob of crossbows coming in, and look at that. Retin Archers not in huge numbers. Like, slowly Viles is getting the numbers up, but he cannot be everywhere. And these crossbows, this is the jackpot. They just need to get through the palisade walls, and I wonder if Viles is noticing this one. Because, oh, that's so bad for Suomi. And this is the advantage that you get from free ranges. Free ranges, especially if you have the resource to make them working, you just outproduce your opponent quite massively compared to like Castle Age unique unit plays. Because that's exactly what Viles is doing. It takes a lot of time to mass Retin Archers, and it's not For these crossbows, they will camp down the TC. This might be game over here, because Vilas is losing way too much. And they will just sit beneath the tower, kill the tower over there. I mean, there are some Rattan archers, but at this point, Vilas has dropped down to 33 villagers. Honestly, Lix is at 31 himself, so it might not be game over just yet, but I mean, this is far from ideal for Vilas, who is off from gold. Vilas is off from gold, which means he cannot make more Rattan archers, whereas there is the extra attack coming in. And the other problem, look at where Vilas's units are. They are here in the middle. And in the meanwhile, this is an aggression that they have to deal with, and the camos also have mobility. Camos could show up anytime here trying to bash down the walls. Mangonel is on the way. Let's see how Lix micros this. He's trying to pick off as many villagers as he can, picks off another one and then disengages. And now they are gonna go for this TC. Look at this, look at the ping on the minimap. Yo pings the Rattan archers. Yo shows Lix, hey, the Rattan archers are here, so we can go for this building. And both the crossbows and the Indian camos are great at melting this building. I have to say that what we're seeing from Yo and Lix here might have been some of the most amazing teamwork I've ever seen in competitive Age of Empires. The synergy between these two players are absolutely outstanding and stellar. The strategy choices are weird, but the way they execute it is just clinical, with surgical precision over here, and that's gonna be a lot of dead villagers from Max because there is nowhere to run. Rattan archers will have to come back, and look at that. Yo is going to tell his teammate, hey, Rattan archers coming here, you have to attack on the other side. And Vilas barely able to afford to make Rattan archers over here because he was off from gold for a long time. At the end of the day, Max still has the same villager count as Yo, but this just benefits the Indian player because at some point we're going to get to Imperial camos, and honestly this might be the time where camos will engage the Rattan archers. It's much easier to replenish the camos than it is to replenish the Rattan archers, so it is acceptable, I think, if they take this fight, and boy oh boy they will. And meanwhile, look at these crossbows. Rattan archers are kind of occupied over here, so you're just gonna send these guys all the way around, push the wood eco of Vilas, and behind this one, remember, Suomi doesn't have a lot of wood and gold to work with, because the hill is kind of scarce on resources. If only Lix had a siege workshop here for mangonels, this would be even better. Because with mangonels, they will be able to keep those Rattan archers away for so long, and look at this. The crossbows coming at a perfect time. Some Rattan archers there to support, but I mean, it's 19 crossbows against 5 Rattan archers. That might not be enough. Lix is going to find a bunch of villagers here. And that's perfect. 1, 2, even if he loses the crossbows, at this point, you just want to focus down the villagers, kill as many as you can, and be done with the day. And meanwhile, the camos will start rolling towards Max's eco. Look at the expansion from Yo, by the way. Spamming those houses in the middle gives him quite a lot of vision across the map as well. And the camos, in these huge numbers, they're just overrun the Rattan archers, despite the fact they don't really have the attack to really kill Rattan archers. As I said, these Rattans will eat the crossbows, but if you look at the ecos, it's 10 villagers lead for Lix. Now also Yo has the eco lead, and that's just gonna get worse and worse for Suomi. It's not Suomi playing bad, it's China playing some of the best team games I've ever seen. And if you look at the resources for Yo, that's where it gets scary for Max and Vilas. Yo is about to imp. Max isn't even close. I believe Max might be slinging Vilas over here, because Max is suspiciously not making any units. There's a mangonel that could get a good hit on, but now the camos are in, and what are you gonna do? It's 5 military for Max, 15 for Vilas, and compared to 22 and 29, they're just gonna dive in on this TC. And remember, Indian camos melt buildings, Saracen crossbows melt buildings, and Imperial Age is coming in here for Yo. We could be in for a 2-0 over here in what is a matchup that could have been in the finals. So far, kind of one-sided towards China, but it's tricky because none of these games were super dominant from China. They went for especially here, they went for a kind of unique strategy, something that is kind of risky, but it paid off for them so well, and that is just because their teamwork is so good. The way Lix is using his ARBs or crossbows are just stellar, and as I said in the previous game, I feel like this series could come down to, can Lix perform on the highest level? And yes, he can. In this series, he's playing just as good as Mr. Yo. And right now, I mean, it's 120 villagers combined for Suomi. Yo alone has 113, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Finland tapping out once they see Yo in Imperial, because once Yo is in Imperial, by the way, this is not how you want your eco to look like, by any means. Even the Wolf could get a kill. Is the Wolf gonna get a kill? Wolf being blocked over here, but he's trying to chase that low HP villager. And, like, this is the moment where I would say that once Yo is an Imperial, as Vilas is also imping himself, I feel like this is the moment where Lix could think about slinging his teammate, or just dropping a castle here. Remember, the imp time is much better for Yo. He can drop a castle, make trebs, and take that castle down, the only building that Vilas is using to make units. Here is the castle indeed, and I think they have enough to get this castle up. And if this castle goes up, as I said, Vilas will have to make a decision. Is he making Rattan Archers or is he making Trebs? And I feel like this castle is even a little bit too late for Yo, because he is getting Imperial just now. And let's see if Suomi taps out or not. Not just yet, but I mean, it's just a matter of time right now. Vilas and Lix are even in eco, but Yo is just so much more ahead compared to Max. And Yo is gonna start making Trebs. He can just flood the map with camos, and behind this one just trap down the castles over here. Meanwhile, very, very little map control right now for Suomi, and really huge shout out to China for being this good. Because we know that they're a good team, but I've seen Yo and Lix play in many 2v2 tournaments before. This is by far their best performance. Not just in a tournament, but in a series like that. I feel like their teamwork is just absolutely amazing here. Plus 4 defense is in, and now these guys have 5 pierce armor, so it's not like Rattan Archers will do an awful lot of damage on them. Or at least not enough damage to compensate for the fact that you can spam camos from a bunch of stables, whereas Rattan Archers need castles to be produced on. That's the main problem here. Rattan Archers take so much time to create, and you need a castle for that, whereas the camos can just flood the map. Imperial Camo is coming in here for Mr. Yo, and I mean, Vilas is in Imperial, but what is he gonna do? He's trying to make another castle, but he's going to lose a bunch of villagers over here, and I feel like Suomi is trying their best to play this one, but that is just not gonna work. Impressive and ambitious game plan from China. Surgical precision execution, really, like, the way Lix used his archers, the way that they communicated where the Rattan Archers were, and just used their forces that they could mass easier, because you can mass the archers easier from the ranges than the Rattan Archers from the castle, to stretch out the defense of Suomi, to lure in the Rattan Archers to this open field, and then bring in the crossbows at the back. So good teamwork from Team China over here. And Finland, which I thought could be one of the finalist teams, could be leaving in the quarterfinals over here. I think it would be a very big disappointment from them, but boy, Lix and Yo are actually playing really good. 69 kills for Lix, but I feel like this is what really matters. Vilas and Lix even villager count, but at the end of the day, Yo was able to massively outboom Max, because Max kept losing villagers and Yo's eco was completely untouched. And you can just see the slow snowball. As Lix, if you see his army numbers, it was always larger than Vilas, and as Imperial Camel is indeed saying, it's a lack of mobility. Like, of course, the mobility component wasn't necessarily the deciding factor only. Like, the main damage dealing unit for China was the crossbows, and they have the same mobility as Rattan Archers. The main thing here, I believe, was the fact that it's much easier to mass crossbows than it is to mass Rattan Archers. And you can see why pure unique unit buildings, or pure unique unit builds, can be potentially kind of dangerous, because it takes so much time to get to good unique unit numbers. If Vilas was able to get his Rattan Archers numbers up high, it would have been a completely different game. But Lix and Yo just never allowed them to do so, because they kind of cornered them on that hill. Lix and Yo, 2 games ahead compared to Suomi. Boy, oh boy, and now we're going to Golden Pit, which is the second home map of Suomi, but not gonna lie, I feel like Golden Pit is a map that Yo and Lix also love to play. Let's cross out the civilization. Saracens, Britons, Indians, and the Magyars are gone. For Max and Viles, we have lost Slavs, Vietnamese, Cumans, and Ethiopians. So, Golden Pit, this is the map where you bring in your Mayans and Berbers, and that should be a very strong combo of civs. Mayans and Berbers is probably the two best civilizations to play Golden Pit with in 2v2 setting. Other side, what are the plans for China? It's hard to say. I feel like they could bring in Tatars, but the fact that it's a random civ pick makes me believe that they don't want to use it. They probably want to focus on these. I don't know. I don't see any particularly amazing civs for Golden Pit. We still have Team Islands and Nomad to go. Nomad would most likely be Malians and Lithuanians for China. Team Islands would probably be Portuguese Incas. So I guess Chinese Mongols is what we are going to see. Well, it is just a matter of minutes until we find it out. In fact, we already have the game up. I just want to give a quick shout out to the players for setting up the lobbies fast as well, because it really keeps the games flowing, and that's great. That's like really, really great. Sometimes it takes like 10 minutes for players to set up games, and it kind of breaks the flow of this tournament, but really just shout out to these guys for being very, very fast at doing so. Anyways, Tatars are coming in. Interesting. So they randomed Tatars at the end, and they're gonna be like, okay, we're gonna pick Tatars. I'm okay with this. Tatars can be a pretty tricky civ to play here. I feel like the biggest problem that you're facing when you're playing Tatars is that you don't have a good Imperial Age transition, because they don't have orbs. So you have a bunch of crossbows that you're not going to be able to use. Berbers, Mayans, as I said, the best combo of civs here. Berbers, they flood the map with knights. In early Castle Age, probably the best way to keep your opponent off from gold in the middle. And Mayans, just keep your archer numbers up high, get an Imperial Age at around 60-70 villagers, and go, oops, Obsidian Arrow Orbs, and win the game. I have to say that this is a must-win for Suomi for multiple reasons. Number one, they have the potentially the best civilization combo for Golden Pit here. Number two, it's match point in the quarterfinals, so they have to win this one. Yo is playing Chinese in red on the left, Tatars for Licks in yellow, and we're gonna have Max as Berbers in green, and Viles is playing Mayans in blue, with a rather open map. Now, this version of Golden Pit is something that is pretty hard to wall, not gonna lie. So it is possible to wall it yourself, but it takes quite a lot of time to do so. That being said, I believe Max is probably gonna play with Scouts into Knights, and then he has to go triple stable Knights, keep your opponent off from gold. I wonder what the plan is for Yo and Lix though. Because Yo technically could think about, okay, I could go Camels to deal with the Knights, but it's not something that's really gonna work when you have a Mayan opponent as well. So I guess you'll just have to try and match the Knights here of the Berber player, but this is an insanely hard civ matchup right now for China. So they will have to pull some neat little tricks here to make sure that they don't lose this game. Aggressive play by Viles, you can't lame a boar with an eagle or a scout. That's a rule. So he's coming here to either block a villager or trying to lame some goats, or well, it's turkeys right now, but he's not unable to find anything. Same thing here for Max. So they're both coming forward trying to get some additional sheep for themselves, or try to find an isolated villager. This could be great. I feel like Max was trying to go for that isolated villager, but Lix brought in the scout. Nice defense there. So no villagers are killed so far, but you can see that Suomi really wants to have some kind of early advantage here by killing a villager, stealing some goats, maybe blocking a villager on a boar. They really want to do some damage early on to the opponent's eco. They feel the pressure. Still, they should have the better civilizations by a massive margin over here. So, for now, this is going to be a peaceful little Dark Age, and we got 4 on wood for Lix, and 3 on wood for Yo. So Yo is gonna go scouts here. 4 on wood, however, from Max, which means he's unlikely to go for scouts, and he might be thinking on going for a fast castle here and going for straight knights. It could be very dangerous. Vilas also has 4 on wood, so it is very likely that we're just going to see maybe straight archers from Vilas and the fast castle from Max into knights. Whereas for Yo, he's probably gonna play with scouts, so it's a matter of can Yo do damage with the scouts. And the maps are open enough to potentially do some damage, but it depends on how the Suomi players will vol. And they are going to ping the scout of Lix over here. Both of the scouts of the Suomi players are in here to do some damage. Both of the players eat some damage over here, but at the end of the day, this is going to be an even fight. Although, honestly, if the scout comes in here from Yo, he could get some damage done as well. Indeed, Max and Vilas will have to run away because that eagle is dangerously weak. And honestly, Suomi is behind in terms of HP on the scouts. Vilas with 2 kills though. Vilas has 2 kills. And Lix is down by 2 villagers. So Potato Caster completely missing. The villager is getting killed over here. Interesting. Interesting. You know what I'm gonna do? Oh, I can't actually restart it. But, well, I actually considered I could just restart. So, quickly fast forward and see where Lix lost 2 villagers. I assume it's the wall. That has to be it. And it kind of explains why Suomi has lower HP on their units, but that KD for Vilas really stands out, and that's exactly what they needed. And there's the Drush FC from Max. Drush FC into Knights is completely viable here with Berbers. And honestly, everything that Suomi needed is here. They did quite a lot of early damage. 2 villagers down is Lix. That's probably the best start that Suomi has had in this series so far. Yo is going up the Feudal Age here. He doesn't really have a super safe gold mine. This is the only one that he can work with. And here comes the Drush. Lix moving out from the wood line, now sees the Drush coming in. I think he might just fight this one. He has 5 villagers over here, and let's see if he's gonna do that indeed. He's gonna try and fight this one. For now, he has Loom, so he should be fine. And Max with the Drush. Vilas is making a Drush here as well, but this is late for a Drush. This feels like a very, very late Drush from Vilas, and I don't like that. The timing of this one is more like a Man-at-Arms timing. Anyways, I think Yo is gonna be able to scout that. Yes, he sees the militias for a brief moment. So if he was looking there, he knows they're coming his way. And yeah, we could see Vilas going for a Drush FC here, but as I said, I feel like this is very late for a Drush. I mean, Max's Drush has been here for like a minute or so, and that Drush from Vilas is just coming in. And meanwhile, this is still a tricky fight here for Lix. There is a lot of idle time on these villagers enforced by the militias, and you don't want to lose that scout just yet. So, nice quick pause from Lix. He's safe now. He took a beating at the beginning, 2 villagers down. It's far from ideal, but I think what's more important for Suomi is that they are fully voled. Vo's over here, Vo's over here as well. So Yo's scouts play isn't really going to achieve much, and honestly, this is the best game so far from Suomi, believe it or not. Like, the first game was decent, second game was kind of potato from them, but this game number 3, so far, they have been playing like I expected them to play. Because so far the execution is very nice on this one, and, well, there is absolutely legitimate chance for Suomi to bring this one back just yet. Only 3 on food right now for Lix, so he's not gonna be able to really get villagers going if he doesn't add some more villagers to those turkeys. Has an idle villager here, and he's rushing up the archer ranges with 3 villagers so he can get some archers out and clean up this Drush. The other Drush is going towards Lix as well, knowing that Lix is kind of open, wasn't able to fully wall his base over here. But, well, once the archers come in, this should be no problem to deal with, although it might have been a little bit too ambitious to open up the gold mine just yet, because, I mean, the militias are still roaming free, And they could actually get another villager kill. This will be a massive misplay from Lix. And boy, that's gonna be a dead villager. Not sure why he opened up that gold mine. I mean, he had only 3 on gold, and I guess he wanted to go for the gold mine a little bit faster. So he can actually keep adding archers on double ranges, but that costs another villager from him. And he's behind by 3. Look at that, 24 villagers. He was at 29, Vilas at 30, and Max at 31. And now these militias are coming here as well. Archers will be sent forward. Yo pings the base of Vilas, and honestly, these archers could do some damage, or at least force some idle time, because Vilas is going for the Rush of Sea here, and it's not like he's there just yet, so these archers could really do some damage on this wood line, maybe on the berries. And meanwhile, Yo cleans up the militias with his scout. How is Yo doing in Castle Age time, though? Nowhere close. I feel like Suomi should dominate this game. Look at this. Max going up to Feudal Age. That's actually a pretty late Feudal Age here. 31 villagers. But he's gonna be able to go triple stable knights after this, I assume. And just overrun the Chinese team with knights. Same thing here for crossbows. Archer ranges are coming in here for Vilas with blacksmith. And, well, even though the archers will be here from Vilix, I don't think they will do enough damage. Although, if the scouts start attacking the walls, this could still be a little bit scary for Vilas, because like he's just starting to make archers. At this point, the best thing that Yo and Lix can do is try to bash their way through the walls over here. Let's see if they're gonna do that. They see the ranges, and they also see the berries. Meanwhile, Yo going up for market and blacksmith. I assume he might think about buying himself up to to castle here, because he probably knows that he needs to be up to Castle Age really fast over here, because their opponents are going for Rush of Sea. So let's see if Yo sells his stone to go up. I could understand if he did, because he kind of has to get up here very fast. Anyways, Max is like double layer plus side wall. There is no chance to get into his base, and it seems like this aggression isn't really going to get anywhere here for Lix and Vilas either. They will idle some lumberjacks from Vilas, but not really going to do significant damage. Yo apparently didn't sell his stone. He just waited until he can click up, and now he is on his way towards Castle Age. 38 villagers compared to 33, with only a 35-ish percent Castle Age difference. That's actually pretty cool for Yo. He's gonna have a stronger eco than Max, that's for sure. Now let's see what Vilas is playing for. He's just massing the archers. The thing is that you don't want to unpop your arch ranges just yet, because if you unpop your ranges yet, then Lix is just gonna fight that with the Tatar archers, and then your Rush of Sea isn't going to be worth it, right? They see the archers, they know exactly that they want to trade this off here. If you can trade this off, then it's perfect for the Chinese team. If not, just run away and make sure you don't lose your own archers, because now Vilas is up. Maybe try to pick off a villager over there, but that's not gonna happen. You have to run away now. You have to run away because you can't afford to lose your own archers against the crossbows. And Lix, honestly, is super far away from Castle Age. Very, very unbalanced eco for him. Look at that eco. I mean, he's the only player not up to Castle Age, and he has like the same villager count as Vilas, who is up to Castle already. So that rush really had an impact on his eco. Just trying to buy himself up to Castle, and he's idling his TC like crazy so he can get up. But you look at that. He had to sell his stone, mine a bunch of gold, try to buy the food for himself, but that rush really knocked him off from his rhythm. And now, this is looking great for Suomi, because this is exactly what's gonna happen. 2 stables, with a third one being added pretty soon from Max, most likely. Max with +1 defense only. And honestly, if it's just double stables, China can match that. And that's actually pretty good for China if they can actually match the knights from Max. Max needs to play this on triple stable, go for the cheaper knights, because if Yo gets a foothold in the middle here, that's perfect once again for China. Here come the crossbows, and I have doubts about that TC going up, to be honest. I have serious doubts, but there are some knights coming in here to help out as well. Tatars with the hill advantage will also be nice here, but yeah, Yo will have to abandon that town center for the time being. 1 villager goes down, 2 goes down, 3 could be going down. Nope, not just yet. There is 1 very weak villager. But yeah, this is not the fight that they want to take, and like Lix is still very far away. That being said, Yo is gonna be the one going for free stables here, and I mean, they should be able to take this fight once the knight numbers are slightly better for Yo, and Yo is gonna get +2 defense. If he gets +2 defense here, he can just kill those crossbows, and then this is a good engagement for them. I feel like Yo might not... Actually, Yo might need to lead that TC, because I don't think they can save it in time. But, on the other hand, I feel like the fact that Max is only going double stables might hurt him quite badly. Because if the Chinese player can match the knight numbers, then Berbers aren't really worth anything here. The real advantage you get from Berbers is the numbers advantage here, and Lix 80% towards Castle Age here, and it's not like yeah, Mayan's army is just great and cheap and whatnot, but Tatar's army will be very, very good at just taking this hill and raining down death and destruction on top of the opponent. So I feel like at this point, I think that China is not that much behind anymore. A couple of minutes ago I would have said that they're in huge trouble, but not anymore. Apparently we're gonna have forward TC now coming in here for Max. Crossbows in for Lix. Only +1 defense for Max, by the way. Whereas there is going to be +2 defense already for Yo. So this is actually going to be a great fight. If those crossbows get their upgrades, like Botkin and crossbow upgrade, this is going to be a great one for China. They'll be able to start pushing the middle. And if you look at the ecos, Yo's got 42, Max has 43. Yo is playing on 1 TC, dropping the second one just now. University for Ballistics for Lix, and Vilas is only playing 1 TC as well, so he's not gonna be that much ahead compared to Lix and Eco. Actually, he's got 10 villages lead, never mind. 10 villages lead, and there is the Surge Stable from Max. This is where it gets really tricky for China to play this one, because there is going to be Tumbling for Vilas, there is going to be +2 defense, and this is the moment where it's going to be awfully hard for China to hold on to this. If they were able to take this fight before +2 defense kicks in for Max, it would have been amazing for them. But now Yo already has +1 attack as well, but Tumbling advantage is going to be a huge one here for Team Suomi, and it appears that Lix is going to have to fall back. But you should never underestimate the fact that Lix could always use the hills to get some advantage for himself in these archer fights. Looking at Lix, he's got +1 armor, same thing as Viles. And we got some knights looping around for now. Crossbows. Trading rather favorably for Team Suomi over here. Not a fan of this for Team China. They're just trying to delay those crossbows from pushing this TC, but 2 villagers take so much time to build that one. 3 stables for Yo here. More crossbows coming in to reinforce. TC is at 60%, but there are some knights that are trying to intercept the reinforcements of Viles. That's why they're trading off the archers. They send the knights here to intercept the reinforcements of Vilas, and I love that. Because in low numbers, archers will just die so badly to knights, and that's great once again from China. Yo is playing like a beast in this one, just killing the crossbows one by one, and they can just pretty much bring in their own reinforcements. Yo has a foothold in the middle now. The tricky thing is that the Mayan army is so cheap that a faster Imperial from Mayans into Arbalest and Obsidian Arrows can actually win a game very fast here for Suomi still. So I would dare to say that the tricky part here is that I could even make a case now for Max trying to sling Vilas into Imperial. Because if Vilas gets into Obsidian Arrow Arbs, this game is over. Anyways, one thing that they could use here is potentially the mobility of Yo's army, and they could try to push Vilas. That would be something to consider. For now, eco numbers are not super bad for China. Not ideal, but it's not as bad as you would expect it after all the damage that Lix has taken in Age 1. He is just 1 TC full crossbow play. Remember that the problem for the Tatars is that they don't have a clean transition into Imperial because they don't have Arbalest. So if you are playing Tatars here, you want to be able to kind of decide a game before Imperial Age is going to be a factor, and I'm not sure if they will be able to do this. Remember, Tatars was a random Civ pick for China in the Civ draft. It might backfire quite badly because here you're just not gonna have the tech switch time to switch into Cav Archers on this map. Anyways, Yo is not mining stone, Lix is not mining stone either. No stone mining from any player, actually. Everybody's just full gold and food. And of course, wood. So, looking at the middle numbers, it's fairly even. I am fairly certain that Lix actually has Thumbring by default. I'm dumb. I'm dumb. I was like, why is he taking those fights against the crossbows that already have Thumbring? But I'm dumb because Tatars have Thumbring for free. So, in this case, that's alright. That's an absolutely alright situation. Mangonels is coming in here now. There's going to be Mangonels from Yo as well. Knights cleaning up the knights here that are trying to intercept the reinforcements. And more and more crossbows are coming up here. I feel like China wants to push this one in castle and they will have to. Lix's eco is nowhere close to Vilas's one. It's amazing, by the way, how Vilas is 71 villagers with 1 TC and Lix is just 41. He's got 3 on food, so this is all in castle age from Lix over here. Which also means that if they can't win this game in castle here, it's gonna be over. And look at that, Vilas is imping. As I said, from now on you have like 3 minutes for China to win this game or it's over. Because the eco is much better for Vilas. He's gonna get obsidian arrow orbs and it's over. You're not going to be able to defend the middle with just castle age units. And Lix is like nowhere close to going to imp, but even if he was ready to go imp, he doesn't have Arbalest. So I am massively disliking the fact that China is just sitting back chilling with their army. Because the clock is ticking very badly here. And every second they delay, Vilas is gonna have a more and more chance to get up to Imperial and keep those archer numbers up high. That being said, if Vilas loses his archer numbers, this could still be a game for China, but I feel like as good as China has been playing in the previous game, this is actually kind of disappointing game from them so far, because this game plan kind of feels flawed. I'm not sure about the Tatars pick here, as it is, and I'm not sure about how they are playing with the Tatars, because it's one thing that you lose a bunch of villagers in Dark Age, but this isn't gonna work. Lix is trying to lure them into the slope, but that doesn't matter, because Vilas will be happy in the middle to keep his archer numbers up high and just get to Imperial Age and Arbalest. That's the problem for China. And look at that, now they're moving in. This could work. This could very well work, but this might be too late now because it's 85%. They have to trade this army off here. It's a now or never for China. For this game, there's the castle being dropped, but once again, 90% Imperial for Vilas. But Vilas doesn't have a castle. And that's actually pretty important because that means there is no obsidian arrows just yet. Arbalests will be in. This is a now or never for China. They have to win this fight over here and kill those crossbows. It's all about that. They have to kill them before the upgrades kick in. But that castle from Yo could go up. +2 defense is missing for Lix as well. This feels over. This feels so over. Look at how... like, at this point, the problem is that Max and Vilas will be able to hold this position. And if Vilas is able to get some stone for himself, and he's at 500, he's just buying a bunch of stone, he's gonna make a castle here, trap this down, game over. This push was way too late from China. They're trying to make up for it now, but if this castle goes up, it might be over. In fact, it should already be over, because there's nothing that China can do against the Arbalests. Arbalests here, especially cheap mine Arbalests, will just eat everything. You just can't beat them, even with Tatar crossbows. Like, had they done this push 3 minutes before, this would actually maybe even work. It's too late now. And this is why Berbers and Mayans are just so good on this map, especially Mayans. Because you can get to Imperial Age very fast here because your army is cheap, and when you get there, it's going to be a trap first, I believe, from Vilas, because you want to start trapping that down. And now, the best they can do is just try to drag away that army from the middle and try to finish off Max. And that might actually work, but it doesn't change the fact that Vilas is about to queue up a trap indeed. Yo needs to get into Imperial, he's not far away. So the only win condition I see for China here is if they can pretty much kill Max. If they kill Max here, then the cavalry player Yo might be able to take good fights against Vilas's Arbs. But it's not looking great. It's not looking great at all. Crossbows with +1 defense against fully upgraded Imperial Age Arbs. It's over. It's so over, and as much as I was praising China for their gameplay in the previous game, this one was total disaster. Remember that the Tatars pick was a random pick. Just look at the military numbers now. That's why Tatars is not a great civ for this map, because you don't have an easy imp transition. The only way that you make Tatars work on this map is if you can win the game before Imperial. Or if you go straight Cav Archers, but that's not something you can do against Mayans. Yo and Lix were way too passive with their armies here. They allowed Vilas to get into Imperial, and this is it. This is it. Now, as I said, I feel like the massive civ advantage is on the side of Suomi in this game. So, yes, this was a kind of dominant win for Suomi, but we have to keep in mind that Suomi had an enormous civ lead. Like, I kind of felt like Yo and Lix's civ was like, okay, play whatever we can. Whereas Max and Vilas's civs were absolutely the perfect civs for this map. So, that's something to keep in mind, that Vilas and Max had a massive civ advantage, but I don't really like the game plan for China for this one, because it's not great. It's not a great game plan. And I just want to point this one out. It's a random civ pick here. If he went Incas, he would have had an ARP transition himself. Or if he picked something else. Not sure why he randomed the last. There could have been other civs with ARBs that can actually match this one. Like, probably not Aztecs. But I could have made an argument for Malay, honestly. For example. Because Malay would have been pretty nice over here. Anyways, that is one game for Finland, and they are not out of the tournament just yet, but I feel like Max and Vilas play this one very, very good. On the other hand, I feel like Yo and Lix play this one very, very bad. So, this was like game number 2, just the other way around. Alright, which city in the US are you moving to? I'm moving to Washington. Washington, D.C. Alright, so Team Islands or Nomad for China? I would say you probably want to pick Nomad here, just because the civs for Suomi are much better for water. So Berbers are gone and Mayans are gone. You will leave Italians and Vikings for Team Islands, and Malay, Burmese, Japanese. Probably Burmese and Japanese will go for Nomad. And I like that. Interesting that Spanish was banned from Nomad, but like Burmese are great on Nomad. Japanese also pretty sturdy. Other side, Portuguese will be one of the picks for Team Islands. And I guess Mongols or Incas can both work, but it is probably going to be a landing type of scenario. Lithuanians, Malians will be the picks for Nomad most likely. So either a Mongol or an Inca landing is what I expect from China if they go to Team Islands. So I would say that the civs now are kind of predictable. We'll see if I'm right or not. We're going into Nomad for game number 4. And here it is. Apparently I was kind of wrong. Mongols for Nomad. It's not a bad idea from Yo, actually. I like it. It could be a pretty solid civ to play with. Lithuanians and Mongols to play around with. I expected Malians, because Malians are one of the best Nomad civs, but Mongols work just as fine. Other side, Burmese is understandable. Malay, not so much. I feel like what Malay do is something that Japanese can do just as well, and they are actually a little bit safer in early feudal age. So, what do you really gain from Malay over here? Like, you will have infinite fish trap in late game, but there are so many things that have to go in that direction for that to matter. You have to be able to control the water. You have to be in a very, very long game. So I feel like Japanese with a higher HP fishing ships and faster work rate on them would have been just much, much better for like the early stages of the game. And then you can still make your fish traps and be completely fine. That being said, I think I've seen a Nomad game from Max a couple of, maybe like a week or so back. It was a big Nomad game that they played 4v4 with like Secret players or GL players now, Chinese players, and I think Max was also there. And he had like a sick fish boom. He went for like a 1 million fish traps. So I feel like it is going to be a massive priority for China to win the water, and I'm curious who is going to play water for Team China, because technically both of their players are capable of doing so. Mongols with the faster food income from Hunt can go for a fast fuel Legend water, or Lithuanians can do that as well. I would prefer Lithuanians going for the water, because then you can go for Mongol Manga Dies, which would be nice. Voyager fighting is forbidden until like 1.5 minutes into the game, so the reason why you're not seeing these Voyagers fight is because of that. And let's see what Lix is gonna do here. Unable to find a reasonable TC spot for himself, just drops it over here, super close to his opponent, Viles. Interesting. Interesting. Other side, we're gonna have dogs from Yo and Max right next to each other, and Yo kind of isolated away from Max with another dog. No, that's not a dog from Yo. I'm dumb. This is Lix's dog. This is a very, very good dog for Lix, because it's kind of uncontested by anyone. So it's a safe little fishing pond over here. But the fact that Yo's fish is exposed here could actually hurt him, because now he has to fight on water, so he cannot just go fast Castle Mangadai. Taking a look at Max's map, he's close to Goldstone. Nice little base to play with, and there is one boar over here. Some turkeys, some deer. This is a reasonable map for Max. For Yo, he's got 2 boars, berries. He doesn't know about any of these boars or berries on the south, so that's not that great. The problem, I believe, for Yo is that his wood line are gonna be absolutely awful. Look at this wood line. Like, this is legit a wood line. It's a line of trees. Anyways, I feel like aggressive play here could be a factor. Lix doesn't know about his opponent's TC here, nor does Viles, but Viles might actually be able to palisade scan that TC, whereas Lix has no idea where the town center is. Lix is the one that is 3 villagers. He was late getting that TC up, because it took him quite a time to find a good place, but he will compensate with the extra food he starts with, so I think he should be more or less fine. So, one thing that's going to be super interesting to look at is that there's a lot of unexploited land on the right side, so a lot of place where Yo and Max can, or Lix and, no, not Lix, as we have, what is a restart from China. I believe Yo has seen his map, or Lix believes that he was just late getting his TC up. That's the other option. I approve that. I believe that Nomad is probably the place where you probably want to call your own restart if you feel like your situation isn't great. And I could make a case for you and Lix calling a restart, because if you look at the Voyager counts, Lix and you are both behind. You can see that Yo is like, not so great base. He doesn't really have any gold close by. In fact, he has a kind of bad gold spots. So, totally understandable restart from China over here. Each team has 1 restart to play with. So, no more left for Team China. And, well, they are almost ready to jump into the next game. So restart from China over here. Let's see if they will get a better situation for themselves. I feel like Yo wants to be the player that's far away from the rest of everybody and just goes for the Mangadai. Kind of the same is the game plan for Max and the Arambai. So that's probably what they want to achieve. Previously, it didn't actually happen because Yo's dock was very, very close to Max's dock. We'll see how it goes in this one. Max and Viles versus Yo and Lix, game number 4 in 2v2 World Cup quarterfinals. This is Nomad, the first home map of Team China, and this is Max dropping at an absolutely beautiful TC spot, very close to a huge amount of gold and stone, berries, and wood as well. Not a lot of huntables around, but it's not the end of the world. Like, he can lure this boar in, he can lure this boar in. Should be a very, very good map for Max, and what is even more important is that he's far away from his opponents. Meanwhile, Viles will be the punching bag over here, close to 2 opponents. He could easily be exposed to aggression, but on the other hand, how many times we have seen that 1 player delays 2, and the 4th player is just gonna steamroll everything. This is, I think, a very good situation for Finland, because at the end of the day, if Viles can just delay and harass Lix and Yo at the same time, Max is gonna have a free boom into a run-by and just steamroll everything. On the other hand, if Vilas dies, he could be in huge trouble, and I feel like the other problem for Suomi could be that if Vilas is facing a lot of aggression here, he could potentially lose the water because he's probably going to be the water player for Suomi. And if they lose the water, that is going to impact their eco quite heavily. Looking at the dock spots, nice little dock spot for Lix over here. A lot of deep fish close by. Yo is going to have a nice little dock spot over here as well. Other side, this is Max's dock spot, and I don't see one for Vilas, but now here it is. It's a super interesting dock layout. So basically, both teams will have a relatively safe food eco, and once again, look at Vilas pinging Yo. He pinged Yo's TC spot, as we have Mr. Trarest with 1,000 bits. Thank you so much for the bits. I greatly appreciate your support. I hope I pronounced your name right. Thank you so much for the bits. I greatly appreciate it. So, as you see it, Vilas pinged the TC of Yo. So they know exactly that Yo is here, and Vilas's job will be to kind of delay Yo so the Yo cannot get to Mangadai easily. Other side, Lithuanians for Lix. We still have to account for the relics that he could pick up, and he's got like one relic over here which is easy pick up. One over here should be doable, but he needs to scout it. Same thing for this one. Lix has the chance to go for a pretty aggressive Lithuanian push, early loom from most players coming in right now. Alright, Yo is gonna go for that board, which means that Vilas might be a little bit low on food. Suomi can still call a restart. They have their one left. But yeah, if you look at Vilas's food eco, not going to be magnificent, especially in terms of hunt. Like, he can go berries, but that's basically it. He's got one boar. And Yo is gonna bring in the other one. Yo is got a boar over here as well, something he did not scout, but eventually will. So I feel like Yo's food eco here is gonna be much better. And remember that Yo is Mongols. I don't think Yo is gonna be the one that goes for the water, but it's not an option that is impossible. And if Yo goes for like a hunt-based, very, very fast feudal, they could still push the water off Suomi quite fast. At least Malay are helpful at catching up, going up to the next stage, because Malay age up quite fast over here. Yo is gonna have a nice gold the back, stone at the back though, so I don't think Vilas can do an awful lot of damage to either of these Chinese players. And that should actually benefit China, because they can 2v1 a player over here. Max will be able to boom happily over here at the back. But Vilas could actually be exposed to a lot of aggression. Anyways, Yo still missing out on that boar. And that's gonna be so unlucky for him. He's scouting with one villager, going for turkeys. And he's just missing out on that boar just a tiny bit. I mean, this turkey is coming this way, so it's going to scout the boar. But there is going to be a little bit of... I don't think there's going to be much idle time on that TC. There is enough in the bank for Yo to compensate for that lack of boar. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Yo sending out a villager here, getting that boar as fast as possible. Alright, let's see the scouting information for Team China. I am not sure if they know about Vilas's position over here. Lix, with his scouting, also very, very limited information. So it seems like there is way more intel available for Suomi, who know about the position of Yo. I don't think they know about Lix, but they can kind of anticipate him to be on this part of the map. And now that this villager is running around, he's going to see a yellow villager. So he probably knows, hey, this guy is around here somewhere. And he's right about that. Villager chasing down the other one. There was Loom coming in just yet for Lix. And now he sees that villager chasing him. I think he wants to take the hill. It is fairly standard to use one villager to scout across the map. And this house is going to be telling a lot for Lix. This is when they realize that Vilas is over here. Look at the pings on the map. Look at the pings on the map. Immediately pinged by Lix saying, okay, Vilas is over here. And the fast fuel age is coming in here for Lix, which would be great to drop a tower. Lix likes to play aggressive with towers. And it's not impossible he's gonna try and tower this food line. But for now, Yo, what is Yo doing? Yo. He's gonna see that TC and run away. And Nightlo Volov. Apparently what Lix wants to do is drop a dock here, because they seem to know about the dock from Max. Yes, they do. So Lix is gonna drop a dock over here, and he will start pushing Max's fishing econ. Max, I think, is going fast castle here, most likely. So he could lose the majority of his fishing eco here quite fast. In the meanwhile, Viles does not know about that dock coming up, and that's actually crucial. Lix going for some huge walls. I mean, huge walls. Not necessarily a huge fan of that, but I understand the concept. Because, like, the idea here is that even though it's a big investment, it will make sure that you don't get absolutely slaughtered by, let's say, scouts coming in here from Max. Anyways, galleys will be added by Lix. I actually like that, because galleys at the beginning are actually better at killing fishing ships, and you know that you are the fastest player going into Feudal Age, so you want to go galleys and start pushing these fishing ships, and Max has nowhere to run, so once Max sees the fish, or the galleys, he's gonna have to run this direction. Anyways, Lix is going to lose the villager over here going back home. I feel like Yo just voted himself outside. Like, probably the villager was trying to come back here, but then Yo started voting and the villager just got killed. It's a huge investment, by the way, from Yo and Lix to wall this one off, but if they can actually push the fish off Suomi, it's worth it. Because they will have the better eco still, with the fish as well, and it guarantees that Lix isn't gonna get pushed, and he's gonna have the chance to kill those fishing ships, and as I said, galleys are actually pretty cool at killing fishing ships. Like, pretty cool at killing fishing ships. It's -2 for Max. As I said, he's gonna run away. But there is, I think, going to be a galley coming from the other dock of Lix as well, which could push Viles. Viles is up to Feudal Age, not making a single unit though, because he's towering Yo. This could be so bad for Suomi, because they're about to lose the entire war, and it's not like it's easy to tower Yo here, because Yo has back resources out of everything, and it seems like it's going to be kind of a spear and potentially skirm tower play from Viles. But I mean, Yo is actually excellent at defending against that, and Yo wants to fast castle this, which is going to delay his fast castle a tiny bit, but that still doesn't change the fact that Max's fast castle will be just as much delayed, because Max will have idle fishing eco. In fact, I would say that Max's fast castle will be delayed a lot more than the FC from Yo. Anyways, that tower is gonna go up, and as I said, Yo's progress towards Mangadai will be delayed, which is a huge achievement for Viles. Remember that his role here is to make sure that Viles doesn't get to Mangadai and allow Max to get to Arambai here. But still, as I said, galleys are here, and if you lose 5-6 fishing ships, it doesn't really matter that you idle some villagers from Yo, because your eco will also be kinda bad. And as I said, galleys killing those fishing ships like nothing. Fire galleys are now out for Max, but as I said, his castle age is going to be just as much delayed as is the one of Mr. Yo, who's making a defensive tower right now on the gold spot. No quick pause from Yo here, and that tower might actually get knocked down. Interesting scenario. Yo is gonna grab stone from this one, I like that. He's gonna have another stone mine, and he's gonna try and trap the spears over here. Yes, he will. He will try to trap these guys in here, and he could actually try to just take this fight. Beautiful plays there from Mr. Yo. Nice defense, and as I said, if you look at Mr. Yo at the end of the day, he is in an alright spot. He's gonna be able to mine gold, and in the meanwhile, if you look at the ecos, 29 for Max, 32 for Viles, 35 for Yo. And that's huge. The fact that Yo has the fishing eco here is great. Was the Spanish Civ ban? That's correct. The first ban of Team Suomi was Spanish. So they decided to play with Burmese, but they didn't want Spanish. And I guess one of the reasons why they don't want Spanish is because Chinese players are actually very, very good with the Conquistadors. Like, they just love to play with conks. A big villager fight coming up over here. But honestly, as I said, I feel like Yo is just good at these massive scenarios. Viles, not so much. So, if I had to select my player for a villager fight like this, I would pick Yo. Yo is just very good at fighting these massive villager battles. Nice kill over there from Viles, but the tricky thing is that look at how Max is doing with Castle Age. And this is why Viles's role here is very important. Yes, Max lost quite a lot of fishing ships. But Max is gonna drop a castle right now, and Yo hasn't even clicked up. So Viles might delay Yo just enough to make sure that Yo isn't able to get up to Castle Age in time. Yo is still missing... actually, no. He can click up now. So Yo is still going to be alright, though, I believe. Like, the first initial run-by aren't really going to do that much. Especially considering that they have to get through these walls, which is going to take some time. And, yeah, I mean, Max... His Castle Age was better than Yo's, but I'm not sure how much he's gonna benefit from it. Meanwhile, it seems like Viles is trying to lame away the Huntables, so Yo is killing them with the Villagers, so they cannot actually be lamed away. And now, Yo should have no trouble here. And if we look at the water, Fire Galley from Max is cleaning this one up, but Max is down to 30 eco. On the water, though, there is Fire Galleys coming from Max. So now this is Lix's job to fight on the water here, because you don't want Yo to lose his fishing eco as well. Viles, no fish. Max, no fish. There is quite a lot of fish available for the Chinese team. And here is the problem for Viles. If he lost all his fishing eco, he's going to be quite heavily delayed going into Castle Age, whereas for Lix, probably not that much. In fact, Lix is up to Castle Age, something I completely didn't notice, and he's going Knights. Which would be great, look at that. These Knights are just killing so much. In fact, I would dare to say that a Siege Workshop could also be worth it here, and at the end of the day, I think Viles is going to lose just as many villagers as Yo did, and I wonder if Yo is just gonna force build a castle here. Because Yo could actually just pull 15 villagers and force build a castle in the face of Viles there. Especially with the Knights cleaning up the towers. Indeed, Yo is probably gonna do that. Just drop the castle over there, open up the face of Viles, and there is the run-by coming in. In fact, the monastery is to support as well from Max, because he knows Monk's defense is going to be a thing here, and it appears that Lix is trying to reroll this one, knowing that there is going to be a run-by coming his way, but there is still an opening there for Max, who turns around. Max turns around for some time, and this buys some time for Lix to get a TC up here potentially, get some monks out on the field, and this is looking extremely good for China once again. Because if this TC goes up, the run-by will not really have a chance to do a lot of damage. And behind this one, Yo's got 40 eco, 42 for Lix. Viles is 43, but he's feudal age, and he's gonna start losing villagers to a castle over here. These villagers are also gonna go down. So at this point, Viles is gonna lose quite a reasonable amount of villagers. Here's the run-by, but there should be 2 monks out already on the field for Lix. This TC might actually go up before the run-by arrive. 75, 80. He sees the TC, but he cannot stop it. That TC is gonna go up, and I feel like the key thing here is that Yo can actually make his own Mangadai. We're going to see fire galleys coming in here from Yo, so he wants to apparently push the water a tiny bit more, because Viles seems to start adding more fishing ships over here, or by running around, trying to get some damage done. Unsuccessful, but here come the monks, and that could be a lot of run-by converted. One conversion is there, and here come some more monks. So I think that Lix is going to be super happy defending with those monks for now, and if we add the fact that Yo is just right in the face of Viles, this is looking pretty bad for Suomi. They don't have the water, and they are gonna get pushed back on land, if you ask me. Yo is still on stone, which means that he's working towards dropping a second castle. That second castle will probably be right in the face of Viles. So, like, even more than the first one was. And look at that, Mangadai could just pick that fishing ship off. That's so nice. That's like one villager killed. So beautiful. Anyways, Arambai are just leaving here, which means that Lix can reroll himself. It might be even worth it to go stone walls and just make sure that those Arambai don't get in here. And then Lix going for Elite Skirms. I like that. Elite Skirm with Lithuanians is a nice unit, and they will deal with the Arambais just as fine. And I don't think these Arambai will get through the walls anytime soon. Crossbows is the play here from Viles, but he's gonna have to abandon that wood line. And I feel like what you want with the Mangadai now is maybe delete one part of the wall and try to hit like Max's eco with the Arambai, because Arambai, or the Mangadai. The Mangadai will have a lot more mobility than the Arambai do, so it actually makes a lot of sense to just try to hit that eco. over there. Fish traps coming in here for Licks as well. Eco is just much, much better for China. And as I said at the beginning of this series, I feel like Nomad is not the map where you expect the Suomi team to be super amazing. And China should be extremely good on Nomad. But that being said, that's going to be a castle being dropped right in the face of Licks over here. And I don't think he can stop that. I don't think he can stop this one. He can just go and try and convert the villagers, because then the Arambai are actually behind him. He's trying to stop them. Viper actually did something like that in terms of microing. Just start converting the villagers and then stop it. Because if you start converting the villagers, it's gonna stop building. And that's actually a huge thing to consider. And right now, this is actually pretty scary for Licks, if you ask me. He's gonna have a castle in his face, potentially losing quite a lot of his eco here, the monastery that he's making monks on. And I feel like Yo needs to start being a little bit more active here. Max going back into water with the War Galley upgrade. But yeah, it is in the hands of Yo to try and save Licks over here or do damage to Vilas. Because now Vilas has crossbows on the field as well. And the Arambai are breaking in. Military numbers are looking decent for Suomi. 30 to 20 is the military count. And that's exactly what you want. You don't want to cluster up those monks. You don't want to cluster up those monks. And there are some conversions, but only 2 of them. Elite Skirms doing some damage over here, but I don't think this is really enough for Licks to hold. There is a Mangonel on the way. Another monk should be able to defend against this one for the time being, but there are some monks coming into the other side. They're heading towards Mr. Yo for the time being. Arambai trying to snipe the monk and the Mangonel, but skirmishers are actually doing quite reasonable damage over here. Yo with Botkin on those Mangadai, but no bloodlines for now, and those Arambai will be super annoying in the face of Licks. And Max is playing this one super well. Remember that Vilas did a beautiful job just delaying Yo, and maybe that delay is going to save them right now. The crossbow play here from Vilas is something I like a lot better than the initial Knights play from Licks. Still, I mean, those Arambai are going down quite rapidly, and a lot of them are very low HP, so this is something that Licks, or like Max, has to pay attention for. You cannot afford to lose those Arambai easily. Anyways, looking at the eco numbers, that is just a massive advantage for Yo, like a huge one. And if he can keep those Mangadai alive, bring in the Mangonel to deal with the crossbows, ballistics now coming in, I can see Yo getting to Imperial and trapping that castle down, but it's still tricky. They need the Mangonel alive so they can deal with the crossbows. Right now, Vilas is booming on 2 TCs. Arambai are still at the back of Licks' eco. Licks is losing some villagers, but I mean, he still has a huge eco lead compared to his Suomi counterpart. And there's a defensive castle, which kind of would cut off the reinforcements of Max over here. So the Mangadai just jump on these, and this castle prevents the rest of it. And it looks like Licks is gonna be the one imping. So the plan here, maybe even Yo slinging Licks into an Imperial, get a trap out and trap that castle down. And I like that quite a bit. I feel like it would be probably a better scenario for Yo if he was the one in Imp, but it is a priority to take this castle down because you don't want a lot of Arambai running around. The second castle is on the way as well over here, but probably Licks is gonna Imp here on this TC very soon. Many of those Arambai are super low HP. Mangonel could get a good shot on. Misses the target. Let's see if he's gonna fire again. Misses once again. But as I said, many of those Arambai are very low in HP. And with the Skirm support and the Mangadais, those Arambai shouldn't really be able to do a lot more damage. And here is Imperial for Licks using this TC. I am not a fan of that. This is a kind of exposed TC, so you don't really want to use that. And one thing that we didn't notice on water is that Max actually did a beautiful job pushing the water from China, but he didn't find Licks' food eco in the corner or Yo's eco here. And look at Yo. I have no idea how this villager got in here. I feel like this was just a dog villager from an earlier time, because it looks like everybody is imping other than Max. How is Max doing with imp? That's the problem. Max is not going to imp anytime soon, so he will have no chance to defend those castles with. The first player to Imperial here will be Vilas, though, because he's got melee and he's gonna get Arbalest here. And Arbalest could be a pretty decent play against the Mangadai, but how are they going to deal with like elite skirms from Lithuanians? That's my main problem. If Lix went for full elite skirm with the upgrades, this would be perfectly fine, and we could still see Yo coming in here with some sneaky pushes from this side. Tumbling on the way for Vilas. And a second castle for now. The problem for Vilas will be that he doesn't have siege to push this one with. He is using the back TC to imp, which is the reasonable thing to do. Yo is going for some fire ships, so he actually wants to save that fishing eco. That is kind of what is giving him his huge eco lead. 75% imp as well for Lix, who is actually gonna get that castle up but loses a lot of villagers, and now Lix has the same eco as Vilas. Lix lost quite a lot over here, but on the other hand, it doesn't really matter for him right now, I believe, because what matters is that you are gonna have 2 Imperial Age players against 1, and that there will be trebuchets. That's what really matters for Lix over here. He needs a lot more elite skirms on the field, and just make trebs and start trebbing those castles down. Indeed, there are the upgrades for the elite skirms. The TC is melting, Vilas getting Bracer in, but apparently no food for Arbalest just yet, which is so bad for him. It delays his play so much. There is Trebuchet coming in, but Yo is gonna be imp as well. Yo sees that those crossbows still don't have their upgrades, and that is going to be 1 TC going down rather easily. The traps are on the way from Lix from both castles, and now he's going for elite skirms. I like that Max is healing up his Rambai over here. In the meanwhile, we still have the water control for Yo. 117 villagers is just ridiculously huge. Tumbling chemistry. The big dead blood of Mongols might soon happen. Here's the Rambai diving in though, so you have to divert all those Mangadai to deal with the Rambai, I believe, because there isn't really a lot of skirms from Lix here, and they're trying to melt that TC, and boy, they are doing it. They are melting that TC, and Lix is under heavy pressure here. The traps are slowly taking down the castle, though, and it appears that when the skirms arrive, the Rambai have to disengage. Lix still at 84 villagers despite taking heavy casualties, and look at that. One castle is engulfed in flames, the second one is there as well. No villagers to repair, so these castles are likely to go down, and elite skirm is going to be the play from Vilas. Meanwhile, Yo is getting conscription for himself first. His castles are gonna be trapped down, or at least they will be the target of traps, but right now Yo is just waiting for the upgrades to kick in so he can snipe those trebuchets with the Mangadai. He will not let this castle go down, that's for sure. First castle is down, and this is where things are getting very bad for Suomi, because they don't have anything against elite skirms. They just don't have anything. Unless we're seeing something like Cavalier from Max, but look at how Max's eco is looking like. The Rambai play doesn't really allow you to have a good Imperial Age time, because you just don't have a lot of villagers on food, and now those skirmishers can straight up start pushing here, or they can go towards Yo to try and lower those Mangadai numbers. This is the moment where Lix will have to bring in his stuff to help out Mr. Yo. Yo is still okay over here. Elite Mangadai and Capdram is coming in. There's 2 things that Lix can do. Either come in here with the skirms and try to take this fight, or try to push Max with the traps and skirms. Both of those could work, but I feel like it's a larger priority to keep Yo alive right now, and that's a nice find from Lix over there. Latists are also out on the field in small numbers, so they can actually kill the villagers, and this is the moment where Suomi realizes they have no chance. Because at this point, this castle isn't going down. Those are elite Mangadai. When the elite skirms arrive here, this is not a fight that they will be able to take. And Suomi leaves with a 3-1 outing against China over here, eliminated in the quarterfinals of 2v2 World Cup. They had an up and down series, I would say. They played a decent game on Nomad. They played a decent game on Arabia, but fell behind at some point. Really, Lix's galley push was so crucial for this game. The fact that he was just able to kill a bunch of fishing ships was just immensely helpful, I would say. And Yo's fish boom is what basically somewhat carried this game for them and allowed both of them to be in Imperial and trap down those castles. And, well, game number 2, great game plan from China. And China is looking strong here, like looking really strong. because they got one of the toughest teams in the tournament out here. One of the teams that has an insanely good chemistry, Max and Villas. And they still won 3-1. They had some great game plan, as well as I said, on Team Acropolis especially. There is some cleanup to be done, especially on Golden Pit for Team China, because what they did on Golden Pit was pure disaster. But other than that, they played really, really well. Well deserving a victory over here. It is... like, there wasn't really a lot of kills here. It's just a matter of how are you going to stop Mangadai on the lead skirm here? You won't. Max is nowhere close to going into Imperial, and you can see why. Because if you play a Rambai, you are probably going to stay 1 TC for some time, and Ornlu is gonna raid. Thank you so much for the raid, Ornlu. Welcome everybody from the Wolf Pack. So, yo, with way better res, but really this is what stands out here. The 6k food for Max, because the Rambai play is not something where you have a huge amount of eco. And with that said and done, this is the end of the first quarterfinals for China versus Finland in 2v2 World Cup. China advances into the semifinals with a very, very good chance of being there in the grand finals.